So here we are in the middle of eclipse season. Officially window open 29th of July until the 10th of September. And even though I already made a short video about the eclipse and the astrological influence, I thought it's important for me to come on here and tell you a bit about the stars around eclipse season and how to navigate this profound period of change. And one of the biggest signifiers for eclipse season is that it is a time of change, a time of the stars arranging themselves as they should, and a time where doors will be closing, new doors will be opening, but in a highly unpredictable manner. So eclipse season is always this time where parts of our soul, our hearts knows that something profound is about to change in our life. Whether it's on a subconscious level or, personal level, physical level, if you are in tune with yourself, you will see these changes. If you're tapping in with yourself in this period of time, you will feel strongly that something is changing. And it's interesting looking at the different interpretations of astrology around eclipse seasons, because some people would say in modern astrology don't make any predictions in the eclipse window, whereas if you look more to medieval Renaissance, you will see that the eclipse portals were indeed a time where you would cast a chart, not necessarily make predictions, but you would make an overall statement of the state of the world and what would be opening up in that period of time. And let me just give you 3 solid advices that you can utilize and use in your own world around eclipse season. First advice is built around the fact that I know that this time can be highly disturbing to many of us, in the sense that things are changing. It can feel scary, fears are coming up to the surface. We also have Pluto still in the astrological big scene, and we have to understand that whenever Pluto is so strongly involved, especially around eclipse season as well, we will need to let go of something that was hidden, deeply buried before, that doesn't feel so convenient when it comes to the surface, but it holds a very beautiful truth that can unlock doors where doors were closed before. So my number 1 advice would be, don't expect any resolutions in eclipse season. Like, if I were about to give you a cliché, but it's so true, expect the unexpected. Let your heart be open to what is happening, instead of having your mind in a state of prediction mode. And it's so interesting because I was thinking about this. I was thinking, why is it that some astrologers came to the conclusion on social media that you should not make predictions under the eclipse season, whereas there's none of the literature that I'm familiar with that directly say that. It's just a simplification of the fact that there's a difference between predictive and making a forecast. So predictions are built on, this rationality of the mind, that we can predict something, that we can be sure of something, and that's not what astrology is for. So in that sense, we can know that every time we try to predict something with accuracy, we also try to force and control an outcome. That's still not saying that astrology cannot, on some level, be predictive. However, the way that it's predictive is more in a forecast of there are different outcome possibilities. And as me being a super nerd into Greek and Roman mythology, I cannot help but think of speech writing, because, the old Greek school of beautiful language, starting with the philosophies of Plato, was that in order for the speech and our words to be beautiful, they would have to communicate the complete truth, but it was under the circumstance or the definition that there were one universal truth, which Plato dedicated his life to try to find that one truth, whereas Aristotle, that came after him and was a student of his school, said there is no such thing as one truth. There are several things that could be truthful. It's depending on your ability, so to speak, to convince different truths or bring different kind of truths into life via language. And to take that bit of a complex lecture, I very much think that this applies as well to what we do in astrology. When we read a chart, when we predict, when we talk about eclipse season like this video, we are casting a chart and looking to the possibilities, and then we are communicating in such a way that feels truthful and ethical and in alignment with the heart. And I think that sort of astrology that is not confident that we can predict things, but confident that we can look to different kind of energies that could be true, is more ethical and real than trying to make predictions of certain outcomes. Because if we put it all together and we think of the eclipse season and the portal that it gives us, we as humans would never be able to understand the entirety of cosmos. So we need to stay a bit humble about that fact that portals are portals for a reason. So the mind cannot predict anything that it has not experienced before. But the heart can predict things that it has not experienced before. And that is so profound, because with an eclipse season happening at 20 degrees in Leo, we are at the center of a heart activation like we've never seen it before. A consciousness of the heart opening as a portal, as an opportunity for us to work with. And that leads me to my second advice for this eclipse season, which would be learn to distinguish between the language of your mind and the language of your heart. Learn what it is, like how your heart communicates. Because the heart is always a silent whisper, and it has a more sophisticated way of communicating with us. And so when we can know that, we can learn practices that center us into that alignment. And once we can recognize the language of the heart, we will be able to make statements, choices from the heart as well. And from my perspective, my knowledge, that is indeed what this eclipse season is about for us as collective, as an individual. So now to put those two together, I would say, allow yourself to be confused. Allow yourself to not have any resolutions right away. Accept that this is a time of a heart activation like you've never seen before. So trust the language of your heart, which is way more subtle than anything else. And final thing I want to mention today about this eclipse season, because I was asked about what role does the 8-8 portal play in astrology, the Lion's Gate you might hear of. Well, Lion's Gate is more a spiritual conviction, and I have nothing against it, but astrologically it's not necessarily, something special. No. When we look at numerology, obviously it's an interesting one that I will not deny the influence of. So what I pay attention to is Lion's Gate is obviously in the sign of Leo. So there is something very peculiar about the fact that we have the nodes changing from Pisces Virgo into Leo Aquarius, and we have an eclipse happening at 20 degree Leo. So again, it's just emphasizing it's a pre-portal into the eclipse, where we can make courageous statements from the heart, courageous insights from the heart. So my final advice to you would be, allow this time to be unresolved. Allow this time to be scary and exciting at the same time. Allow the change that needs to happen. And if something doesn't make sense to you on a rational level, congratulations, you're probably onto something. So this is my little check-in for today, everyone. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Let me hear how you are affected by this eclipse season. If you have paid attention to anything specific happening from 29th of July up until now, today, where we have the 6th of August, you will still be on quite a ride until September the 10th. So yes, that's for me today, from my heart to yours, and have a wonderful day, and see you in another video. Bye for now.